Hello YouTube, this is Mars Gaming and welcome back to another Elder Scrolls Online build video. Today I will be covering my heavy attack StamDK, the Sunbreaker. I call it the Sunbreaker because I play a lot of Destiny 2 and primarily my favorite class is the Sunbreaker, and I wanted to try my best to emulate that in this game. Now, my heavy attack StamDK is what I said it is, heavy attack StamDK, but it relies more on its dots than anything else. In the beginning, I wanted something akin to a hybrid, but I decided to kind of shy away from that because I don't have the pools for that. Plus, there are still passives that I need to acquire for another build. I have a hybrid build similar to this in mind, but I'm gonna wait on that until I get all the materials and the passives that are required for it. But anyway, I'm going to show you my character sheet first, and I'm going to show you, and then I'm going to show you my gear. So I'm going to buff up, show you my resistances, and my regeneration. This is the back bar. Buff up again. This is the front bar. So most of my damage is being done on here. My back bar is mainly to buff me and to defile and debuff. My on this build, my heavy, I don't use a I'm sorry, I'm drawing blanks. I don't use executioner or the other morph of that because my light and heavy attacks are my execute. I'll show you why in a minute. Now the gear, I'm running Gladiator, Kvatch Gladiator. I was for this. This is a two-handed axe in defending. I run Gladiators basically adds weapon stacks, weapon crit, and one weapon damage. And when your target is under 25% health, adds 800 weapon damage to your light and heavy attacks. This build has a lot of utility because of this. Because of that, it has a lot of utility. That also is kind of its downfall too, because it's more of a jack of all trades build rather than a one master of one or master of many. It's just a jack of all trades build so far, until I improve upon it. This build still is in the process of being worked upon. But as the stage it's in now, it can walk a lot of players down. Inexperienced players, you can finish them off. More experienced players is going to be more skill upon the user. And very experienced players, I don't know, because I'm not at that level yet. I'm just not at that level to play against them yet. I can survive against them, but playing against them, no. It's just we're on two separate fields. The poison that I'm using on the back bar is this application is to be paired with my Venomous Claw because that's a part of my execute. Since Venomous Claw ticks up so high, I can use this to scare Templars. It doesn't, well, most Templars, not a whole lot of them. So the poison damage per second for 1671 poison damage per second for 4.5 seconds, and I use minor defile. I have a disease enchant on my mace that I'm about to show you, but sometimes that just doesn't apply and I need an on-demand defile. The 3.5 seconds really does come in handy to prevent people from using vigor to heal through most of my dots. It does come very in handy. Gladiator's mace. I prefer the mace over the sword, over a sharpened sword, because this outperforms it. Just on paper, it just outperforms it. A mace already has 10% penetration due to its dual wield passives. That's why I decided to go with the mace. And I made it Nernhold just to outperform the sword's passive that gives you a 5% increase in weapon damage. 15 over 5, you do the math. And I added a disease enchant. So I put a lot of points into Mighty. Mighty, the skill tree really helps. That whole the CP skill tree really helps it with the enchantments. It really does help perform it better. Now, On the axe, this is the biggest flex spot here, the axe. Now the bleed procs normally. If you always throwing out light and heavies with abilities, the bleed's gonna proc. But I prefer, if you want more oblivion damage, run an infused axe. You don't need the extra oblivion damage because oblivion damage already hits pretty hard. It's non-mitigatable damage. I don't care what, it doesn't matter. It doesn't care if you have any kind of any kind of resistance or anything. That is going to hit you for a specific amount. It says it crits, but it crits within 1260 and 1520 if you ever see it crit in game. It doesn't crit higher than that. Whatever you see on the sheet here is what it is. Now here's the thing, the flex spot for this is, I have two. It's infused, but there's another one that I've been using. I don't have it on me. It's not a gladiator's axe. I was testing Briarheart on this build, and that axe was charged. Charged is so powerful on this build because it always applies debuffs. If you want charged, by all means, just do it. Charged is great for this build because it just stacks. It constantly puts debuffs on your target. Like if it's a Templar, they just want to stand there and just try and purge the damage. That's fine. After they purge it, it's already reapplied again. That's how good charged is. It reapplies it almost instantly without any downside. But a sharpened axe, I feel, does perform very well, just because I'm not using a noxious breath. Now my armor, I'm wearing one pirate skeleton. This, I kind of got this idea from Despotic. I watch his channel a lot. He's a great content creator. He's talking about min-maxing, so I wanted to do the same thing. I got the pirate skeleton in gold and medium. This is a medium build, a 5-1-1. 5 medium, 1 heavy, 1 light. Just to max out on the min-maxing. So I got more physical resistance, gladiator's chest with Hockey Joe and put into it. I have 1 mighty Chudon and the most gladiator, and I'm running impregnable. Impregnable is a great set to have on this since I don't block a whole. Whoa, wait a minute. Something's out of place. Oh, there it is. Okay. I must have put that on accident. Oh, that's good. Okay. Oh, so that's why I was getting crit so hard yesterday. I was wondering, like, why was that happening? Okay. So yeah, I run 5 impregnable, 5 gladiator, 1 Chudon, and 1 pirate skeleton. For my jewelry, I run 2 weapon damage glyphs. I run 1 health impregnable ring, and the other 2 are stamina. I keep 1 stamina recovery just to make sure I can sustain the stamina. Now, if you want to run all weapon damage, be my guest, that's fine. Red guards can sustain very well, but you constantly have to be hitting stuff, because the way I think about it is, you're combining the Earth and Heart abilities, like Igneous Shield, to constantly help you out in this scenario. When you hit something as a red guard, you get 794 stamina back, and I'm adding that also with the heavy attacks, and I can't remember the other thing I was trying to add. Oh, regeneration, your own stamina regeneration. So basically, you always have to be attacking. You have to be aggressive, and you have to be passive in certain situations, because you can get bursted down if you're not blocking. This build is very tanky. Don't get me wrong, this build is very tanky. I've been beat on by like 4 people for like 30 seconds with this build. And sometimes I can get away and reset. Sometimes I can't. That's why I mainly keep the extra stamina recovery. Now, I want to get this jewelry in purple, if not gold. If I ever see it in gold, I'm going to jump on it. Because the more stamina, or more, the more stamina, the better. Because that would be great. If I see a gold one in health, I'm going to buy that too, because that would be great. Any increase in health for this build would be perfect. Now the skills. I'm going to start with the back bar first, since that's one of the biggest things I wanted to talk about. Now, I said this build has a lot of flex spots, but you have to, depending on how you play this build. First, I'm going to start in the Fighter's Guild tree, since I'm running Berserk Strike. Berserk Strike is nice. I plan on morphing this to the one that gives me the immunity to snares, because I'm only going to be using it for that, just to ignore snares. That's what I want to get. But really, the back bar is going to be Flawless Dawnbreaker. Basically, it increases the amount you heal for. I mean, increases your weapon damage by 5%. Plus, it stacks with the Slayer passive. Increases your weapon damage by 3% for each fighter's guild ability slotted. So that's an 8% weapon damage increase. That's mainly so my vigor. So when I switch to my back bar, which is this one, after using vigor, it'll tick higher on the back bar, as well as my my rally healing me for more. I run Igneous Shields primarily for the fact that you need it. Venomous Claws is great for this build, but this is also a flex spot if you so desire to use that. What I usually switch out, or what I was using before having Venomous Claws slotted there, was Molten Armaments. Now, with Molten Armaments, it hits pretty hard before they get low health. But if I'm running Molten Armaments here, I definitely want to run Shrouded Dagger on the front bar. Shrouded Dagger instead of Silver Leash. Even though Silver Leash does give me that buff, and that is a great ability, which I'll get into the front bar later. But Molten Armaments, when I do heavy attacks with all my dots slotted on, it hits pretty hard even before like they're in execute range. When I get to the execute, I've executed people for about 12 or 13k. I think 13k was the highest, and they were a light armor target. If it was heavy attack, if it was a heavy armored target, I executed them with I usually try to execute them with a lot of light attacks and then go in for the heavy. And I think the highest has been around 6 to 7.6k on the heavy attack against them, but I usually execute with light attacks. I try my best to execute with light attacks because people move so fast. Now, obviously, Rally is the next one, just for the main heal. If I can improve upon my healing ability as a player, I'll probably move to I'm sorry, I'm drawing blanks. Fort Momentum. I'll probably switch to Fort Momentum and remove Shuffle, just for the fact that I'm really tanky, and I'd rather have something else I'm not so concerned about getting hit. I'm more concerned about removing snares. So Shuffle, obviously, is running medium armor. Comes in handy with the major evasion, and a lot of times not getting hit at all. Excuse me. Shuffle is a great skill, and hardened armor over volatile armor, because I'm not using a shield. So that damage shield really comes in handy, and it stacks with Igneous Shield, which is really great. Fossilize, one of the most cheesiest stuns in the game, and I'm loving it. Every time I use it, I love it. It's a great stun, especially against blocking Templars. I can just reapply dots and not even worry about it. I just stand there and I just constantly just pepper them and wait to CC them again. It works like a dream. Now, Quick Cloak. This is another flex spot because you can use either or morph depending on what you like to have in your potions. But I'll go over that in a second. With the potions, I'm only going to say you can run Quick Cloak. Quick Cloak hits hard, especially if you're using a fighter's guild ability on this bar. You're making sure you keep all your buffs up. If you want more damage from this, because even Quick Cloak does a lot of damage, go with Razor. I forgot the morph called. Go for the stronger version of Quick Cloak, but you will not get the Major Expedition. I prefer this one because Red Guards do not have any speed bonuses, nor do DKs have any speed bonuses. Quick Cloak gets you through a lot in this game, and it is amazing. Especially when you pair it with Shuffle to reduce snares, you can get away very easily. Resolving Vigor, of course, is your main heal. Blood Craze, also to keep you topped up, and as a dot, it is a really good damage dealing ability because it does damage on the front end of the slice and the back end of the slice, as well as the damage over time. Silver Leash is by far one of my favorite new abilities. When I saw it the first time when I started playing this game almost a year ago, I wanted to try it out but never did. When I tried it out in this build, it has been amazing. So the funny thing about silver leashes is you can either switch this out for this or the dagger ability in the dual wield skill tree, which is really great too. I prefer shrouded dagger just for the fact that I can hit 3 targets. I would try flying dagger for the long range, but I don't think I would want to, just for the fact that I have a lot of dots on this build. And oh, these do, like this and the dagger procs the enchants, which is really nice. That's really nice. I like that. And oh, this is also the bane of any undead existence. I've hit some vampires with their shields down very hard. They don't like this at all. Like I said, like when I said at the back end, after firing the bolt at an enemy, this ability changes into a tightening, changes into Titan, allowing you to pull yourself to that enemy and deal 6,000 physical damage if they are within 22 meters. Now this ability is great because the second part of the ability does not use stamina. It does not use stamina. The only thing is, this ability can glitch from time to time. It does glitch from time to time. Actually, I think it happens when someone purges it. When it's purged or removed, it kind of glitches out, and then then it has to cancel the animation for a while. Or the second part of the damage will not proc if they dodge roll through it, which does happen from time to time. But that doesn't take away how effective it is. And technically, the ability itself is not a gap closer. It is a gap closer, but technically, it's not a gap closer, so I'm not sure if it's going to be nerfed in the coming patch when all gap closers get nerfed. And a run take flight, obviously, because it is one of the best abilities in the game as an ultimate, except when people dodge roll through it or just don't take damage, which just happens a lot. Now, there's another thing I wanted to talk about. Instead of running this, I don't have it because I don't run inhuman builds. As a werewolf, this build would be superb, just for the fact that light attacks werewolves will get to a light an execute before I do. They hit extremely hard, and they have a hard stun. They have an extreme hard stun and just sheer bleed damage. If you want the most effectiveness with this build, be a werewolf and make sure molten armaments are on with this. If you're specifically doing it for a werewolf build, run molten armaments, run silver leash just to increase your base damage, and make sure you have major and minor brutality up at all times, and make sure you have quick cloak up, and you'll pretty much be ripping through people. Werewolf be perfect for this build, but I don't do inhuman builds right now. They're not really my thing. They're great, don't get me wrong, they're great, but they're not my thing. Now the pros and cons for this build: Templars are very hard to play against, especially more experienced ones. Not to mention, trying to play against a very experienced Templar is asking for death, because it's at that point it's either a sustained battle or they just have so much weapon damage they cut right through me. It doesn't happen very often, but it does happen when you run into pre-made groups and battlegrounds, which I primarily do battlegrounds for this build. This build can work in open world. It's very effective in open world, but you really have to watch your sustain, and you have to watch running a whole lot, because it's not completely designed for running around just yet. It's good for battlegrounds, not so good for open world. It's effective in open world, but you really have to make sure you have speed pots. Because quick cloak, you can't be casting quick cloak over and over and hoping to get the major expedition to stay up longer. That's one of the cons. Not to mention, I'm not using a whole lot of penetration on this build because I am running the warrior. I get the penetration from the front bar mainly because of the sharpened axe and the mace. Depending on their resistances, the mace is going to negate about 2,000 damage and stack with 1,200 with the axe. It's okay, it's not the best. And plus, I guess I'll have to go over my CP tree in a moment. I kind of compensated with it, but I put more into thaumaturgy than into penetration. Let's see what true is. I'm going to start with the tower tree. I have 40 into warlord, 23 into siphoner, for the 6% 6% reduction in my opponent's stamina recovery, or any type of recovery they have for let's redo that shit. Fuck. Okay, now the champion skill tree. I have 640 CP currently. I move at a snail's pace. Warlord, I have 40 into Warlord. I have 23 into Siphoner, 6 into Sprinter, 21 tenacity, 11 into Arcanist, mainly so I can get my Fossilize faster, 37 into Mooncalf. It just stacks with my Red Guard passive. It's probably going to be less on, you know, if you do the math, just because my stamina recovery is front loaded. Now I have 29 to Befoul. I could go higher, but I feel like I need more block mitigation. So I'll put 18 in blocking, 29 to Befoul, and 28 in the tumbling. All my builds are going to have 75 into the Thief so I can get the Treasure Hunter passive because I like to sell stuff. I don't have anything into the Apprentice. I might put stuff into Blessed. I have to adjust it some more later on. I have 23 in the Physical Weapon Expert and 56 into Master at Arms. Master of Arms amplifies that Oblivion damage. You can scale this much higher. I plan on scaling this much higher in the future when I make the right adjustments, but this is what it is right now. I have 6 into Shattering Blows, 26 in Thaumaturg, 18 in the Precise Strikes, 27 into Piercing, and 57 into Mighty. 40 into Ironclad, and 40 into Resistant, mainly to stack that crit resist. I can mess around with this, but I choose to keep it as is. I have 18 into Thick Skinned, 44 into Elemental Defender, 45 into Hardy. I'm working towards the Enchain passive, by the way. That's why I'm doing that. Excuse me. 19 to Expert Defender and 8 into Bastion. And that's it for the CP. Okay, I hope you guys enjoyed the video. I'll be adding one short clip at the end of this just to show how I use this build. I hope you all enjoyed. Please have a wonderful day.